From the book of Mark 8:24, we hear these encouraging words. And he looked up and said, I see men walking as trees. This is how I see it. A program of truth, hope, and faith with Pastor Roderick D. McClintock of the Dream Center in Pearland, Texas, a teacher of the Word. Brace yourself now for just a word you haven't heard.
Well, this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. Good Monday morning to you. I am Pastor Rod, the host of the How I See It podcast, and we welcome you to another episode of How I See It. How I See It is a podcast aimed to share unique perspectives on various topics. This podcast invites listeners to explore diverse viewpoints and worldviews, and to engage in thoughtful discussions where offense is not an option. Today, I wish to discuss a topic that is somewhat personal, because I have been the spouse of two ex-wives. Yes, I've said it. Two ex-wives, both who seem to love living beneath their God-given potential by not working only to receive food stamps, HUD, Section 8, and other government assistance. Neither of them are disabled, fully capable to work, but I cannot blame them because they will be given free passes simply because of their gender. I blame every state's government who communicate the foolery and speak over the heads of the dumb and the unlearned. Listen, please get this. This is not a woman bashing segment. I am only trying to enlighten you how to bring you, your children, and the generations to come out of the systemic, calculated, and well thought out plan to keep you dependent and hoodwinked. You see, as a pastor, there's a tug of war going on within me because we are expected to have compassion for people. People count on us as ministers to be, if you will, their doormats. Use us and abuse us for whatever you like. You know, God gonna bless you, Reverend. You know, thank you. So in that vein, this is where my belief is for my Democratic brothers and my Democratic sisters as it relates to social assistance. I see my brother or I see my sister in need, I feel a tug to go help. But listen to me very closely this morning. You see, I've lived this thing called life long enough now to realize that every holler ain't meant to help. It's a setup called distraction. So, Pastor Rod, what is it that you're trying to convey to us this morning? Well, what I'm trying to convey to you this morning, my brothers and sisters, is that if you have a history of being a forever receiver of food stamps, if every one of your places you've ever called home on your own or as a grown person, as you call it, has been housing or Section 8 or HUD, if you only know Medicaid as a health insurance and never had Blue Cross Blue Shield, you've never had Aflac, you've never had MetLife, never had TRICARE or any other major insurance for health care, ladies and gentlemen, you have been pimped by the system and enslaved again. This time not chains, this time not whips, but simply by being dictated to where you can live, how much money you are limited to make, and if you show progress, that you might leave my benefit plantation, then you're going to be cut off and have to fend for yourself, which at this point you don't have anything anyway. So this keeps you from trying to better yourself. Generational poverty, financial poverty. So this brings me to the question. Ladies and gentlemen, are you a part of the problem of generational slavery? Well, what is generational slavery? Let's take this definition of what generational slavery is, because if you look at your screen, you will see that The definition of generational slavery is a persistent condition. It means it happens over and over again where families remain, they stay there in poverty across multiple generations due to systemic barriers. This form of slavery is where a person's status as a slave is inherited typically from their mother across generations. This, my brothers and sisters, means that the enslavement of one's ancestors leads to the enslavement of their descendants. In other words, what happened to you when you were young, you teach your children. And I want to know, are you teaching your children bad habits? Mothers, are you teaching your daughters that getting pregnant early, Lord help me, is a way to get free food stamps? Are you teaching her that if you want free money, you should get pregnant and put the father on child support as soon as the baby is out of the hospital? Are you teaching her to hurry up and get married to a young man so that she can obtain marital property from the baby's father straight after marriage? Are you teaching her, mother, that if she wants more on her taxes next year, that she should have another child to earn the earned income tax credit? These are not things that someone has told me. I've heard this with my own 2 ears, especially from black mothers. It's sad and a sad commentary, but it's true. You see, when I was a child growing up in Fifth Ward, Houston, Texas, many of the residents there, and I would venture to say 99% of the people there were on some sort of public assistance. Those on food stamps or Section 8 were proud to announce that they were on food stamps or Section 8 or housing or HUD or whatever. And they wore the news like a badge of honor, as if they were graduating magna cum laude. It was kind of like they had won the lottery, if you will, or if they had arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, this displays the sad state of mind of people in the hood. Let me be the barrier of bad news for you this morning. Free is not free. You see, the primary purpose of SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps, was to provide financial assistance to low-income individuals and families to purchase food and ensure adequate nutrition. It aimed to alleviate hunger and improve the nutritional status of those with limited resources, therefore allowing them to afford the food necessary for good health. It also provides financial support for other needs by reducing food costs. SNAP allowed for low-income families to allocate their limited resources to other essential needs like housing, healthcare, and other utilities. Let's start with the obvious, okay? Good morning to you. You needing to apply for food stamps in the first place, or SNAP, obviously means you can't afford to buy food that it would be adequate for you or your family size, which, here we go, puts your business out in the street anyway, that your source of employment or your job is not releasing or giving you enough money to sustain your grown self. I made the quotation expression and because it sees that I'm sure that you've said that sometime at one point or another in your life, that you're grown and don't want to be told anything. Well, grown people are independent. They don't need to depend on government assistance because they got their stuff together. Grown people, which may be why you're in the situation to begin with. Let's backpedal here. Let's come back a little bit here for a moment. Minus those who have a legitimate disability, one who when they say legitimate, I mean they cannot do anything. I'm sure while in school, somebody told you to sit down and shut up so you could get an education, so you would be able to care for yourself at an older age. But because you were grown at 14 and 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 and can't nobody tell you what to do, you find yourself having to depend on a system waiting for the unlearned and the desperate. Many of the young boys in the hood bank on being some big-time sports star, and the girls want to be the girlfriend of the most up-and-coming rapper, only to realize the statistics of success in either one of those fields is less than 1%. I remember my first wife, and the mother of my first 4 children, said to me years ago, when we were still married, she said, "Nigga, you're boring. You don't take any risk." My reply to her, why would I take a risk in what my 100% gives me to the possibility of losing it all? If I have everything I need, why take the risk of losing it? How do you get to the point of you and your entire generation of children or descendants needing government assistance? Someone lost the bet. Someone gambled and lost. They bit the bait on the hook, and now you're on the kitchen table as a commodity. To get a good education is the conduit to bringing your family out of generational poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, it all begins with the lack of education. When you can't read or write, it's hard to negotiate your salary or your contract. When you can't spell or comprehend paragraphs or sentences, it's hard to critically think or to analyze situations. When you have no clue what a noun or prepositional phrase is, or don't know simplistic math, to divide 2 fractions, you must flip the second fraction and multiply them. When you are so proud of your receipt of food stamps, but couldn't pronounce specific and saying Pacific, you need, beloved, to sit down and be taught, which again is the plan of the enslaving political machine that keeps you unlearned. Ladies and gentlemen, this problem is not racial. There are poor whites, poor Hispanics, and many other disadvantaged races and cultures that face needing assistance. But there are also those cultures that if they're needing assistance, they won't be on them alone because of the slave policies involved. Let's, my brothers and sisters, take a look at the 2025 Federal Poverty Guideline for a single person. It's $15,650. You see that where it says salary amount there? You can only make, if you are on food stamps, you can only make, if you're on public assistance, you can only make $15,650 per year. I made this chart so that you'll see if you were a hard worker and never had a day off. You see where it says days per week is 7, and you worked 40 hours as a full-time person. You see this? Look to your right. Look where it says you can only make $301 a week. You can only make $42.99 per day. You are being pimped at $7.52 per hour. Somebody says, well, look, Doc, I got a family of 4. What's going on? Listen, a family of 4 $32,150 a year. They're pimping you for $618 a week. You cannot make more than $88.32 a day. Lord have mercy. And you are being pimped for $15.46 per hour. The federal minimum wage in 2025 remains at $7.25 per hour. How can you survive on what that guideline displayed? So the government, is paying for your housing, paying for your food and your medical with these limitations on you, and you have the gall to say, if we find you trying to leave the benefit plantation, they do. When they have the gall to say that you are trying to improve your way of life, you're going to pull our food stamps that feed my children. They're going to pull your food stamps that feed your children. They're going to take that away from the man that lives with you and the kids that are also there. They're going to pull your Section 8 voucher from you as well. Who is benefiting? Come here. Let me tell you. It sure in hell ain't you. You're not benefiting. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you must work, as we say in the hood, under the table. Unfortunately, for some, you have to work on the streets. For those who get upset at foreign nationals coming over to America to do the same jobs under the table that American employers are offering you, I say get over it, because you're an American. You had choice first, but you see it being beneath you. You see, my mother would tell me growing up, more on another subject. She would say, when one won't, the other one will. Your unemployed behind can't afford to turn down a job when you have nowhere to live. How can a job be beneath you and you have no roof over you? You have no food in you and no education to secure you. How dare you get mad at a foreign national that can travel hundreds of and even thousands of miles away from their homeland to the land of the free and the home of the brave, 40 hours a week, and you were born right here without chains, and say to anybody, the white man is keeping us down. Is there a racial discrimination a problem? Oh, absolutely. And there's also such a thing called intraracial discrimination, which isn't talked about nearly as much, which is a slave component in the black and brown communities. You see, when I left and joined the army, I tried to grab some brothers to come in with me. And all I kept hearing is, I ain't joining no white man's army. You know, the party line to keep you from prospering. That's what they say. I didn't hear anybody say any of that when I told them I was going to Job Corps to get a GED. The same Department of Labor that is ran by the white man, going to help me with my education. You see, when I came to my people in the hood, my people, the black people, the brown people, to cut their grass for $10. And after cutting their grass, they would tell me, that when I came, to get my money, if I could come back next week, that they didn't have the money to pay me at the time. Not a problem. But when I went into the army, the white man had my money on the 1st and the 15th of every month, and I didn't have to beg him where my money was any of the time. Sometimes right before midnight, my money was in the bank. You hear what I'm saying? All I'm trying to say to you is I made decisions in my life that would affect my future and the future of my descendants for the better. Even if I had to suffer the consequences, my seed, the children that came from my scrotum, would be able to live a whole and a productive life, independent and without restraint, which goes back to a past episode here on How I See It, entitled No More Excuses, Taking Responsibility for Your Actions. What are you doing to free your children from generational slavery? Are you the new slave master? Are you pimping your children like the pimping system pimps you? Are you blaming the white man like you blame your children for not getting a better education because you are a single mother? Choices, my friends, choices. There are single mothers that make sacrifices every day and have successful children in society that contribute greatly to my community. I have a childhood friend who has 4 children. I'm not going to call her name. She was a single mother. 2 girls and 2 boys, minus 1 because he's still within the K through 12 system. But all of her children were raised in what we now know as the hood, the south side of Houston. Her children went on to what people would call white universities, not because they have gone to or could not have gone to a HBCU, but because they were grade point average qualified. They weren't sellouts. They just had good grades, and those universities offered them better educational opportunities. So let's better educate ourselves and how to pull ourselves out of the mud. What do we need to do? I know this episode will probably fall on deaf ears, and some have already logged off. That's fine. But for those who have stayed on and listened and really want to know how to be the change agent for their family, one who really desires to be free and leave the plantation of hoodwinked benefits, if you really want to know how to do that, call Upward Bound Ministries Incorporated at 346-741-5955. Again, that number is 346-741-5955, and someone will assist you in getting out of generational poverty. Well, this has concluded our show for today. I'm sure that many of you may disagree with some things that were said, and listen, that's perfectly fine. I understand. Our disagreement should not cause us to disassociate, simply because of how I see it. Prayerfully, I look to see you right here, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, bright and early Monday morning. Until then, next time, may God bless you and may God keep you is our prayer. God bless you.
You have just heard How I See It, a program of truth, hope, and faith with Pastor Roderick D. McClintock of the Dream Center in Pearland, Texas, a teacher of the Word. Pastor McClintock shares, "It's an illusion causing your confusion," and welcomes your support and contributions, which can be made to the Dream Center, P.O. Box 3475, Pearland, Texas 77588, or Cash App at $Roderick McClintock. For information, visit our website at www.thedreamcenter.org. Join Pastor Roderick D. McClintock every Monday and brace yourself for just a word you haven't heard.